Manhood, brought to you by Jameson, natural sources since 1922, and Racetrack.
So thank you for joining us once again on Manhood, the conversations that we've been having for quite a few months now, and we believe it's been rather impacting. The whole premise has always been talking to everyone, talking to all young men, women, everyone about how they're showing up in life. We're better as brothers. This is manhood. So today's topic, we're talking about sexual myths, sexual prowess. Over the period, we've been very fortunate to talk to many young men, many women we've been blessed to have on the panel to give us a real perspective, as to how we're showing up. The insecurities that we have, the violence, the cause of violence for many a topic. We've spoke about domestic violence, mansplaining, toxic masculinity, masculine energy, can women and men handle the truth? A lot of really solid topics. But the elephant in the room has always been a lot of the underlying cause has been sex. That's the root of a lot of insecurities, the root of a lot of violent encounters, issues, divorce. It's always somehow centered around sex. So today we want to specifically talk about sexual prowess and sexual myths, more importantly, like porn, like being a marathon man, going for hours, the horner man. Are you thinking about, are women thinking about the man, are men thinking about the woman, or a man or woman thinking about a woman, whatever is your preference. The fact is, sex is normally the root of most of these issues, and we need to move on from that and get clarification. So Johanse, always a pleasure. Jamie Artis and Niall, always a pleasure having you on the panel. And I just want to say to everyone out there, rated PG, rated R. We're gonna be bleeping out as much as we can.
A little bit between PG-13 and R.
And yeah, so the topic is the topic. That's the conversations that everyone's having. And in order to meet people where they're at, we have to be where they're at.
True.
We have to speak the language where they're at.
Very true.
And we're going to do as much as possible and try as best as possible to keep it
The toe the line.
to toe the line. But in towing the line, we have to talk the things, as they say. So let's get straight into it. Sexual prowess, sexual myths. A lot in there, like I said, we want to cover topics of, porn performance, does size matter, a woman's number, when women tell
Let
you
me start with that now. Let me start with does size matter, right? So I will say yes.
to start what?
Yeah, I say yes.
I will say
Size matter, and not only the size of the man, but the size of the woman also, in terms of the channel that he's going into. Because women are different sizes. So a man could be, I think what average is about 6 inches. I think that's average.
6.5.
6.5, right? I don't know which part of the world that is, but let me just say that is average. But women also are different sizes. So I think the size matters.
Which no one is talk about. Nobody's talk about, diving into the vacuum of space.
Right.
Sometimes.
Neither started. Neither out the blocks. But let's bring it back to Kama Sutra. So Kama Sutra, part of that belief is, like you said, a deer for a deer, an elephant for an elephant, a horse for a horse. And that's based on the size of the man versus the size of the woman. But as we've seen, even in some, I've heard in watching porn, I've heard about it, that, it's really down to your experience, your moment, so you see a...
It's down to technique. It's down to technique because regardless of what size you're rocking, male or female, I think that once you have a understanding of the anatomy
And
your
foreplay.
Foreplay is
Just
important.
now,
But I felt
just
like
now she rushing it. It's about foreplay, but she rushing it now.
Foreplay. Yes.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Foreplay will there, but
You just slam bam, thank you, ma'am.
foreplay has actually come from you wanting to have the person to have a good time. Most times when I'll take men, we do a lot. Sometimes we just only want to focus on us.
Yes.
Like, be real.
Yes.
I'm being real.
Yes.
Fellas out there, put a little time into a woman. Trust me, it will pay off in the end. But once you understand your anatomy and you actually want to put a little effort in trying to make sure that your partner is having a good time, size does not matter at that point. Because people always have a good time.
Okay. I hear you with that. Because if you really care about the person, both male and female together, if you care about the person in a specific way, as in you don't have a format in your mind that sex is supposed to be this every single time with every single woman or man. Because you care about what they think, how they feel, even the scent of the room, etc. Then size may matter less, or size may not matter at all.
I feel that, a woman might like, a Frankfurter generally, but if you come with a Vienna sausage, but she really love you, it wouldn't matter. Like, she will still rock with it.
Nah, it will
Right.
matter, bro.
Yeah, let me hear.
Nah, but what you going to do with a Vienna sausage?
Love him unconditionally.
Sorry.
So let's bring it back to, because what we always try to do on these shows, we try to reach people where they are.
Yeah.
Right? And biologically, what you have is what you have, unless you're
Right.
going for some sort of enhancement. Women do it. Women go and get butts, they get boobs, they do different things, right? Men also go and do these
Or pop a pill, yeah.
pop a pill or whatever
Yeah,
they do,
more-
right?
more
But what it
pill.
comes down to is, what I'm asking is, men place a lot of emphasis on this size and their whole bravado. You see men have a certain walk and a certain flex, if they feel that they're rocking something. But does that make it appealing for a woman who's looking for something maybe longer term? Or ultimately, if you're not a 6.5 or 10 or even if you're a 4, in that connection, what is really more important to a woman, and what are we really trying to communicate to men out there who biologically have what they have?
I would say women don't really like the peacocking, you're walking around and you're like, yeah, my thing big. We don't like that. But if you're getting to know somebody in the early stages and you're conversing, and then, you want to talk about sexual things, that it happens at a certain point in conversing and courting or whatever, right? You would want to get a little thing to play with your mind, like, let me see how long it is. You know what I mean? Show me on this banana or something.
But where
Because
does
when
that-
you go home to sleep, you want to be like, oh my gosh, when I get it, it's going to feel so good. You know what I mean? So, the
But where
walking
does that
around
come
and like,
from?
yeah. I don't think that's a thing that women need. Well,
But
like,
I
in a
want to
man.
bring, because again, I want to make sure this is a very powerful topic, and I want to make sure that context is brought to it. So Johan, say, where does that, is it the advent more of social media, the advent of maybe porn and so on, that gets people thinking more along those lines, as opposed to where's this emphasis really, where does it come from that is placed on your genitalia?
That's an interesting question, because you mentioned Kama Sutra before, right? And so in university, I remember doing an abnormal psychology class, right? And then recently, I'm also studying forensic psychology, which is dealing with abnormalities, abnormal deviant behavior, etc. And most of these myths, right? Myths
Myths.
are Western society things, because the Kama Sutra, in fact, kind of speaks about, it don't matter size and all those things. It matters about compatibility, energy, understanding each other. So there's no bravado walking around who penis bigger, who tighter, who anything like that. That's a Western society thing. So if I'm making that delineation from the start, then now I think, of course, if it's a Western society thing, then of course it will be embedded in different things in the culture. So songs we sing in, magazines, porn by extension. Now, and it will be, of course, reinforced that way. And what I've learned, one, from personal experience, and especially from being married and being in long-term relationships, that maybe about 90% of these things that you learn that's supposed to be what sex supposed to be, really incorrect. And then from having couples counseling and talking to couples and friends relationship, etc., a lot of it are mostly myths. And then I used to look at, in the abnormal psychology days, I used to look at a lot of interviews with porn stars, right? Both male and females. And they would tell you, is myths also, because a lot of it, you got to take one, take two, take three. They really don't last that long. Sometimes I take 2 pills in between to stay hard.
The fluffer, they have a glue, all these different things that are to make it look like it's
Right.
a lovely type thing, to look as if they've experienced, they've done a lot.
The
Let's put
women
it
have
that
to use so much lubrication because they're not to know anymore. So what we think is real is really still a performance, and that's not real.
Just to bring this one into context, we come back to, does size matter? And where it comes from is almost like you said, an illusion. It comes down to, is the person having a good time? Because you have one of the other parts that we want to discuss here is when men think, they know what women are thinking. And women sometimes vice versa. But, a man might think, they use the term, boy, I mash up that girl last night, boy. And the woman's probably thinking, no, buddy. I've had children, so it really comes down to whether or not I'm enjoying you or not, as to whether I could accommodate you, right? And in that perspective, is it why do men place so much emphasis on wanting to rough her up and wanting to do damage and mash up? What is it really about the connection? Is it really about that moment, or is it something more psychological? Is what I'm trying to get an understanding of as to the why we have this almost aggression towards sex. And is it that porn is really giving us
It's
very
psychological.
damaging?
It's psychological because even the last conversation we had about ego and the desired effect somebody wants. If they're not getting the effect they want, then they'd go in a little more aggressive. We weren't specifically talking about sex, but we were generalizing. So, but if we're talking about psyche, that means it will manifest itself in different aspects of your behavior. So if it is, you grew up seeing porn, and a woman's supposed to react a certain way, or based on the performance we see, the woman reacting a certain way, then that's the schema that will come in your mind. So if the woman is not reacting that way, then either you doing something wrong or she doing something wrong. So it's not even about the connection anymore. It's about recreating a scenario in your mind that you saw, that you, even her, she probably doing the same thing, forcing something.
So I'm talking about more than just the porn. I'm talking about, is it in his psyche that if I go by Jamie and I in my mind I'm like, hey, I want to real handle what might be considered my business. Is it that I'm leaving there not even thinking about so much the moment, but I am more concerned in what she's left thinking. Is she thinking I am the best? I was the best that she had. Like you hear sometimes with the Horner man, that the man himself is not even thinking about the woman as he's doing it. He's thinking about the man, the husband or the boyfriend or something like I had to handle this business. So all she has is me on her brain. So it's almost like you need to spread. Instead of spreading your seed, you're spreading your mental image. You want it to be embedded into her brain that you somehow are the king.
But that's egotistical. That's back to what I was saying earlier with most men that go into situations for themselves. It's almost like we with a woman. Really and truly, right? We just want to feel good mentally and physically. It's all for us. It's a illusion that we're doing to cloud what we see is happening. We claim that it is to make the woman feel better because that will make. But saying that mentally to ourselves is making us feel better in reality, no? and it's not about that. Now, as me being on the coin of being the Horner man already. It's less about just jamming hard, right? I actually don't want to punish or bruise at all, right? I actually want to be comfort, because what I realize is that most women who take the opportunity to step out in a relationship, they're trying to find solace within, they're trying to find a friend, really and truly, right? And they're looking we hear the heights, right? They still want the jam, right? But they horning with their heart instead of their body. Most women horn with their heart, instead of their body.
Yes.
So they want the man. They still want the rough up, so to speak, but they don't want me. I can't be in my ego with the rough up. I have to really be doing it for her.
I disagree with you, because rough up doesn't equate ego. To me, ego is ego in your mind, because you could be smooth as silk and real sensual, but it's still not about her. It's still about you making your mark. It's still about
Making your mark, fair
you
enough.
showing, well, I the best man you ever had.
Correct.
But you not thinking about a woman at all now. So I think it's really the
You're leaving your
mindset,
scent.
the,
Okay,
mi-
to leave your
right,
scent.
the mindset you're coming from. And so I agree with you that not all men, some men, and it's because, and let me go back, we have said this before, a lot of us men walk around with low self-esteem. Real
Facts.
plenty of us.
Facts.
So therefore, a lot of this could be born out of low self-esteem. I could even tell you personally, I remember as a youth coming up, I reading up books and things on how to please a woman, all of those things. But thinking about it, it wasn't necessarily about her. It was about me wanting to feel good about myself. Right? It's about me. So when she go and talk to somebody, or let's say she'd even talk to somebody, the reaction I want to get, that was about me. Right? It's only later on when I got a little more mature in more long distance relationship and in marriage and things like that, I realized then, okay, that's a whole different mindset. But it took her even a while, and I would even say still even now, because some of that is still creeping. Now reevaluating is really not about me, it's about us.
Yeah. When she's talking to her girlfriends, you wanted to be saying, hey, that man is a man. And again, I like how we put this into context, because we need to take a short break. But the context here is the people that are going around with low self-esteem, are we acting like that out? Is it coming from a place of low self-esteem where we want to make our mark? Is that really where we want to be making our mark? The mark is in sexual intercourse. So what we really want to come back and talk about now then is we're going from another area of low self-esteem or importance to a man. Apart from does size matter in reference to a woman, does the number a woman has had matter? Take a short break. So thank you for staying with us for this conversation. Again, just a reminder, it's PG into R. We're keeping it as censored as possible, but it's important that we have this conversation because at the root of many of the issues that we've spoken about across manhood and even in general always come down to sex and the many variations and areas that might be deep-seated around that subject. So we spoke about low self-esteem that leads to this need for a man to make his mark, whatever that is. And how they then behave and why they do certain things. Why do they want to be the horner man? Why do they want to behave in a certain way in the bedroom? And as Niall intimated and also vocalized very clearly, that whole thing about, is it ultimately about us? All this self-pleasure, even when we're with a woman, are we still about us at that particular point? You hear men sometimes say, oh no, I want to make sure that she before I do. We could say that on, I think we could say that, But it was said, so if anything, we have to beat that out. But that then, bottom line, still comes back down to the ego to say, I want her to remember me. I'm not really that interested in how much she's pleasured. It's, I wanted to know that I was the man. I was the Don Juan de Marco.
Or I have a picture of what sex supposed to be. So it may not even for her to remember me, I want to feel good that she reacted a certain way.
Right.
So it don't really matter even if she remember me. It happened the way I wanted, so I good.
Yes. This is the picture I had painted, and this is how it's been displayed, and it came to terms. I've seen it in the art gallery as was. So sometimes they say, don't meet your heroes. Well, in this case, everything rolled out the way I thought it was going to be rolled out, at least in your mind. So we come back down to one of the other questions where we spoke about, are men really accurate in what they think women are really thinking? And one of the biggest conversations around that is when we ask a woman, what's her number? So we asked, does size matter? Now we're asking, what really goes on in a woman's mind, or the conversation surrounding the why as well, why men even ask it in the first place about a woman's number.
Okay, so we all know that there are double standards when it comes to women's sexuality and men's sexuality. If a man has sex with like 25 women, it's like, Dan, you real, he's not done. And if a woman say, well, I went with 50 man, it's like, bruh,
Yes.
you're dying. So, excluding that, for me, when a man asks, what, like what's your number, how much men you had sex with or whatever, and I return the question, it's like, why you want to know that for? Why you want to know that for?
Majority men really react that way when you ask them about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like they would prefer to have a virgin. You know, they would prefer to have a woman who had like one man in she life, and they would be quick to like wife them or want to wife them. But a woman wouldn't want a man who's a virgin.
That's true for you?
Yeah,
Mm.
because he don't know what he doing. Let me be real. He don't know what he doing.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
No, go ahead,
No,
interject.
that actually comes back down to the same thing that we're talking about, as in a man want to be the one to teach. To
Yeah.
be like, you know, in other words, I'm in competition with the two men that you
Yeah.
probably was with before me
Yeah.
mentally.
Yes.
And I need to know that I am better than those two. Again, going back to the ego of what men do.
So, pause there. So, you're saying, based on what I'm getting, is that the reason men ask or are going to be upset by the answer, if it is that they feel that they underperform. But if you went with 20 women, or 20 man, sorry, or in your case when you said 50, and you went 50 man, and he knows, okay, well, I am bigger than them, I last longer than them, and I am ultimately the champion, then it's okay? Is that what we
I feel,
say?
it might
Nah.
I feel it might be better. In other words, I see what you're asking. If she says, yo, I was with 50 men and you were the best, I think a man could take that. Tolerate that a little better. A man could-
Just that rare information. It's 50
Yeah.
man years old.
So you're not really concerned whether it was your partner, whether it was your brother, whether it was, a celebrity. It comes down to, was I the best?
Yes.
And as long as you were the best, it's
Everything
okay.
is
Is that what
normal,
we say?
yeah.
But let me add, me personally, why I would have wanted to know that is how it happened versus how many. So if you're in relationships, right? If you had a boyfriend before and you all had sex, I mean, you all in a relationship. But if it was like one night stands, so for me, I wouldn't want to go around, men say, I that man wife in the bathroom some years ago, right? Not that when we were married, but seeing that it's still going on. Oh, I hit the girl in a carnival fete, things like that. That would be my concern more than necessarily the number.
The reputation.
The reputation of it.
Yeah.
Because that was also add to my reputation, which I mean could be my ego also, but I being honest with that.
And is there any video footage? People taking pictures, etc. That could,
All that
if
now.
you have certain
All that
personality
now.
that could come out later, you have children, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden something can surface, a sex tape, something can surface, and you're more interested at that point in that background and whether she was a loose goose. But a lot it then comes down to, as Jamie started off, a man goes with 25 women, a stud. A woman goes with a particular number, whatever is your perceived number, because your number might be okay to Johannes'
Exactly.
number. So it is all preference.
Yes,
and
it's
in
preference.
that case, that woman is then perceived as a or I guess that's how you were raised. Or,
Yeah, because
or you have some daddy issues. But a man, a woman. A man to a man doesn't ask that question or think that, and a woman to a man doesn't feel that way.
But I honestly think it's a generational thing, because I've been conversing with a young guy, and it's like, it's cool. It's cool for a woman to have how much amount of men, like sexual partners in terms of men, right? And the thing is,
Jamie, let me pause you there.
You don't wanna
You
bust
see,
the bar.
yeah,
let me tell you something. You see, courting.
yeah,
When someone's courting, and it's another part of the topic that we want to discuss today. When somebody's courting, you say or accept a lot, because at
Yeah.
that point there's no deep connection,
Right.
right?
So in other words, he's doing anything to get.
It's
to
okay,
get
you know. Even you find it more with the Gen Zs where the numbers and so on and
It
sex
doesn't matter.
really matter. But
Yeah.
in general, somebody's having a conversation. You say, "Yeah, I've slept with so and so. I did this. I did that." It's like, hey, you focus. You haven't gotten there yet. You have no deep feelings as yet.
Yeah.
When those feelings and so on start to come in, all of a sudden you might be concerned about the partner
Yeah.
and what she did, because now there's more than ego in stake here. You want to know that, am I your best? Because I'm now with you, and I want to know that you're not thinking about Harry
Yeah.
or Jeremy or whoever it is, while
But for me,
if you can't perform.
my reason for asking a man that is to make sure that, well, I think sex is a spiritual thing as well as physical. And I don't want to be with a man that have so much, it's an exchange of souls.
Spirit ties. Spirit
yeah,
ties.
Soul ties.
Soul ties.
Soul ties.
So I don't want to be confused and I don't know how I feeling and all kind of thing because of that exchange of whoever energy that person, them people that he was with has. I don't want to get that now. So I would ask a man that for that reason. And then I would know, okay, I could continue on to see a potential relationship with this man or not. I personally don't want a man who have
100.
150. I don't want that.
But does the number matter? Because
matters
when you
for
talk
me.
about soul ties, it's a matter of who that person, that man slept with a woman, who slept with another man, who slept with another woman, and
Yeah.
it goes on and on. So in other words, if you slept with a man, or you slept with a man who had 100 women, or you slept with a man who had 2, the connections of soul ties
Yes.
there could still be the same.
It could be. But that's why we had to talk about his sexual history.
So that many less number, of course, still would be preferable. To be honest, I'll tell you my personal opinion. For me, the less sexual partners, even for myself, because I understand what you're saying about just going around and on the place,
Yes.
right? I have friends who have had, like we say, more than 50 partners, and friends who have had less. And
Male and female.
let me go with males first, right? And that's soul tie. That's a real thing now.
Yes.
Because for a lot of the men, it is really them up. Real bad, right? And I could see where they are now searching for something, because the bonding between a man and a wife, the likelihood of the bond happening, it reduces the more sexual partners you have. Right? And I remember at a time my partner tried to tell me, well, if you wear a condom, then really, if the soul really tie now, right? But I mean, we talking about a soul tie is more emotional because it wasn't.
the plastic.
Right. Right.
Latex. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, there are stereotypes. We could say it's a personal preference. But hearing these things, I realize sometimes you really have to be honest with yourself. We have all these euphemisms and these myths and whoever it is. To brass tacks, I honestly think I could be wrong, but I think each person want to be each other's first, or at least they don't want to be with somebody who's been with a lot of people. If you had a one relationship before and it was a long-term relationship, I mean, you would have sex with the person. But the plethora and the multitude of partners, to be honest, I don't think anybody really want a partner with many partners.
You don't. I mean, but there
not.
are people, but like you said with Jamie, where she said a woman mightn't want a man who is inexperienced, right? But then you have people a man who's had maybe several women, and then you still find a woman who goes, he don't know how to handle
Please
his
her.
business.
He don't know how to please her.
Exactly.
Because again, it's understanding that language, and that you have to
Yeah.
communicate to be able to say, hey, whether a man might be selfish innately, to be able to say to him, listen, I want foreplay, I want cuddling, I want these different things, or you're not really doing it right. But you may be holding back. He may be thinking he's performing and doing what he has to, which is why you then have people who fake orgasms. And all of these things come as a result of lack of communication or being afraid to hurt feelings, which is a segment, a conversation we've had in the past where we are not open with regards to our feelings. But I still want to come down to why is it the information, if asked, one, why do we ask? And 2, the information that's forthcoming is not always accurate. So you always hear they say, and I'm going to tell you 3 it might be multiply that by 7
Multiply by 3.
or multiply by 3.
Multiply by
Well,
3.
the reality is that males' egos are very brittle. The fact that we asking generally is because most of our egos brittle, and a lot of women suss us out very early. Most women could tell the level of how much a man could take from the minute that she start to have a conversation with them, right?
Or is she embarrassed by it? She thinks it's a
I
mistake.
think it's really
so-
about embarrassment, because I know that if a woman really comfortable,
Really? R-E-A-L-L-Y or R-A-Y-E?
rarely embarrassed by the number. I think that because she will have no problem talking to her female friends about it. So it's not an embarrassment. It's really about, if I'm interested in this man and I know that his ego can't take a particular number because they know women's intuition are on a next level.
Then
she
fake from
will
the
now-
start.
She will now throttle her answer based on whatever she thinks that your ego is.
So it's fake from the start.
I wouldn't say fake. I would say
They take into
that's fake. You're
consideration
lying.
the
Once you're
man's
lying, you're lying.
emotions.
First of all,
Once you're
everybody,
lying, you're lying.
everybody puts on a face for everybody else.
Yes.
In the beginning.
Yes.
It doesn't
Until
stop
we-
it from being a lie, eh?
Well, then everybody's liars.
Well,
Because men wearing a fake gold watch or whatever to give the illusion of wealth is all lies.
Correct.
To get a mate to a point where we could now be ourselves. So,
the point
won't-
where it could be yourself.
Yeah.
that's the reality, right?
Yeah,
but back,
yeah,
but back
yeah.
to the point I was making, right? With the reason why orgasms get faked is because, again, back to we trying to throttle the. By the way, ladies, let me just preface this with men fake orgasms too.
Good
That's
point.
just the reality, right? I know it's
That don't make sense because
I have.
okay, when a man
I
orgasms,
gotta blow your mind.
do you mean
I gotta
it's
blow your mind.
ejaculation?
Yeah.
Right. But if a man,
But you always check in, Jamie? Do you always check?
yes,
Jamie?
yes.
So they pull out and they have a condom, and you pull out and you say, "Okay, take the condom,
See,
put
you
just in the
just
dark." You
wrap
see,
it up and
No,
trip
it
don't
wouldn't be
see.
in the dark, number one. I like lights.
Well, sometime it might be in the dark, but I'll fake a headache or two. But point is, I have on our back already.
Thanks for sharing that. Thank you for
I
sharing that.
I think
Thank
with that
you.
one, we need to take a break. We need to take a break with that one, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of good conversation here, so we take a short break and come back. Manhood, Nile boy, oh God.
We are back talking about everything sexual. And we closed off the second break with Nile talking about men fake orgasms. And I didn't agree with that because, to me, for a man to feel like he did something, he finished. Ejaculation occurs. With a woman, not all the time you could tell that she is, she
Okay.
you know what I mean? Because some women, due to probably you ain't drinking enough water, it might be not as fluid as supposed to be. So you can't really tell now. It's easier for a woman to fake an orgasm than a man. But you gonna
We would repeat it.
right?
let's not,
Yeah.
let's not, let's not.
Right?
So that's interesting because men are somewhat conned. You know what I mean? Y'all are cons. Y'all are.
Just to close this, right?
All right.
Not that we are cons. Just to close it, it's more like it's back down to feeding egos. That's the whole point. People fake anything in a
Okay.
relationship, right?
Okay.
I want to feed her ego because I don't want to say at the time saying, yo, I am bored or I'm no longer interested or I have something better to do. I just want to.
Or you don't
I
want to
just-
embarrass her.
I don't want her to feel bad about herself. The same reason or the same way that a woman fake orgasm with a man is she wants to feed our ego. She wants us to feel better about ourselves. When she leaves here and I go about my day, I can't go about feeling like, wait, boy, I didn't make a orgasm. Right? That just ruined my whole day. Now I'm mad in traffic going to work.
Is that why then things would come up like, women say things like, what was the term you all used earlier? Zaddy?
Zaddy.
So is it that you say, hey, big zaddy?
Yeah.
So all of that comes about as a result of feeding that ego. You want, while that man is with you, the woman is probably saying to themselves, I wanted to feel that he was the biggest and best I had, but it's BS.
Listen,
To me,
it is.
if I care about him, then I would feed into the ego or whatever. But
You
if I
would or would
don't,
not?
I will. If I care about him, like
worse.
probably
But
that
that's
that,
worse.
that
But that's
one.
worse,
Wait, let me
Jamie.
finish. That one session probably was bad. You understand? But he was like, oh my God, top of tops on the first, the second, the fifth, the 10th.
And if he's not, but you like how he makes you laugh, how he makes you
Yeah,
feel, what he
yeah.
buys
You wouldn't be like, you'd be like, oh gosh, it's good, but you want to drink.
But that's worse.
Yeah, that's
But that's
that's worse.
You
to
show
know.
me you don't care about me.
Well-
because listen, I realize from this, we need to have plenty more of these
course.
conversations, right?
Yeah.
Especially around sex, because sex is such a taboo thing. I mean, I hear that word. Sex is a taboo subject. I hear that since I'm about 5 years old.
But yet still
right?
everyone has it.
And it still seems like it's a taboo subject. So we
I have
really
a
need to be
question.
honest.
This episode is going to be seen. There are going to be people that are going to listen to it that are going to
Yeah.
be up in arms. But it's the conversation everyone is having, including the people who are going to be upset by the way it's going to be, the way it's going to come across. But it might.
Now we had to have these conversations, boy, because listen, so many relationships is become unhealthy because of lying. And then lying with sex. And then because people lie even to themselves about sex, they don't know even how to enjoy sex properly. And then I'm not enjoying sex. I was the person 5 years, 10 years, I'm not enjoying it. And then I had a horny person, then I had to watch porn, then I had to and
Violence,
create
people
all
commit
this
suicide.
these unhealthy paradigms and behavior. So I'm
As you
real
say
happy
that-
we having this conversation.
As you say that, Beyonce, I wanna ask you a question, right? You was talking about like pleasing, like if you could just be vocal and communicate with your partner with reference to what you would like or whatever. I have a question in terms of why do the majority of women like rough sex or love rough up or a little choke neck while they're getting down?
Passion,
The majority
right?
of women like that.
I would say it's passion because a lot of women, and I would say even my personal relationships and having sessions with couples is about passion. A lot of women don't feel like they just get passion from the man, right? So they would sometimes, even outside of the bedroom, they would provoke you. Show you provoke a man. You want to get a reaction out of
Yeah.
him because a lot of times women is be stoic, right? A lot of times even for ego, well, she can't get me vexed now, so you keeping it inside, but wait, you're really vexed now. So again, we lying, eh? We men sometimes really want to let out passion, let out emotion, but we're not doing it. And then if women are emotional creatures, that's part of the dynamic. So they want to know, and we could even go ego. I want to know I could get a certain reaction from a man, right? So then we're coming back into the sex now. Because a lot of times women hold back. We hold back in sex. You want, but release now.
Yeah.
This release sometime. You ain't releasing outside, release sometime. So choke me, do me something. And wherever it is, of course, I mean, that could depend on the woman's upbringing, what her personal preferences are. But they don't even also have to be choking. It could be dig your hands in a certain spot.
just
Do
overall-
something. Make a
I just-
sound.
Okay.
I like where you're going with that, and I understand the psychology of it, which is art, and that also. But there's also a reasoning behind sometimes with the choking, and it's about heightened sexual feeling. So when a woman's about to ejaculate or right, and I'm still not sure whether that's a word that we could, but we all understand. I mean, everybody uses it.
You can
Right?
read lips.
If COME, right? That at that moment, by that almost asphyxiation, right? You're stopping air from going to blood and the brain, so it heightens the.
I'll go back to
So-
passion, you know.
So,
You want to feel something. Most times, I mean, I don't know everybody in the world, so I can't speak for everybody. But most times when we have sex, we want to have some sort of connection, right? Some sort of connection. And they say it don't have to be the purest, it don't have to be the most sensual, but we want some kind of connection. And therefore, there are different ways that connection expands itself, that manifests itself. So it could be, I want raw to raw, right? I'm going to say something, I don't know if we could say this. I remember I was watching a show Billions. I don't know if you ever watched that series, Billions. And one of the characters says he loved the mouth, right? Right? And so he was actually talking to a therapist. He was actually talking to a therapist, and therapist was like, why? And he thought about it, and he said the fact that the woman loved him in his rawest form means a lot to him, right? Now, that's expressed, it could be in a very explicit way, and it could even, some people think, is a nasty way. But if you understand the deeper psychological behind it, he wants to be accepted for who he is. And I think all of us want to be accepted for who we are, but yet we just lie. We just lie when we're in bed, we just lie about what we really want, we just fake orgasm, we just do all these kind of things instead of just saying what we really want.
The reason why I asked you that, I know we crunch for time. The reason why I asked you that is because a woman told me once that it's because of how women think. Women constantly think. Men have the ability to just shut down, sit down and not think about anything. We don't have the ability now. Even when we sleep, in our brains keep working. So she said that because we are constantly like stressed from your menstrual cycle, from dealing with inequality in the workplace or whatever, that pain, it comes out during sex. And you, by getting physically, like, again, someone getting aggressive with you during sex is a release for women.
That makes sense. Psychosomatic, because psycho meaning mental, somatic meaning body, right? I've heard, and women and men now, if we have pain and we're not veering too much, pain, we do something to numb it. So it could be, I have a lot of people take tattoos. The pain from the tattoo does numb their pain in life.
They cut themselves.
Cutting themselves, alcohol, gambling, porn, we go through. So I could understand, because sex is an expression of self, so you would want it there also. So that makes sense.
So is that part of why we then saying that women may want a certain element of roughing up? Because in the pain, you have women who may want, as we're coming back to size, may want a bigger size at that point because they enjoy the pain or in the sex and all these other things. That is the pain of that is giving them some sort of pleasure.
Yes.
But or release, because I don't know if it's pleasure or numbing.
Because, like you said, numbing. Because women, you sometimes you hear it all the time where women, and not all women. Again, we're speaking to some, we're speaking to on behalf of some women,
Yes.
and that's the representation Jamie has
Yes,
here
yes.
to say that women, for the most part, are about feelings. So when they're having sex, it's about that connection, it's about that feeling. Whereas a man, you see it all the time, even in an argument. A man and a woman has an argument, and the man comes to the woman to say apologize, or because he want peace or he wants something, and she want to hold on to that grudge. Whereas a woman, you could be as upset as a woman come and whisper two things in your ear. You're ready to go. You just because you're not really making. You don't really need all those connections there to have sex, and again, this is not speaking on behalf of all women, but one of the things that you also understand as we talk about connection is that when a man and woman copulate, trying to make sure we always find the words that could be broadcast on television to copulate,
to perform coitus.
Correct, coitus, coitus. Coitus. Let's use the words from the old Roman times, coitus,
Yeah,
Latin.
hopefully in the future we could talk around, Yeah.
And when that act happens, you also, in order to make the full connection between male genitalia and of course female, is to also ensure that both the chest, the connection is there. So there's a point, is it under prior nama, or again a bit.
Well, let me go with heart chakra. I think that people might
to make sure to have the connection here and there. Basically.
Well,
gives you that
Which
connection.
is my favorite position, by the way.
Well, what's that?
So missionary, it's important to have that. But again,
That's my
I just
favorite.
use
So
that
all
to
the
know.
man just complain about that position.
Well, nobody's saying
Not-
stay
not
in the
all
position.
men.
You're not saying stay in the position.
and not all men. And so you're coming into technique.
Sex techniques.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad
let
this
me
is where I
go.
was going.
Technique technique is so intricate because that is a honesty thing. To get it, because when two people meet each other for the first time, you could have sex with 50 people each. When you meet each other, you all could be virgins to each other because you don't know each other technique.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Right?
Yeah.
I like that. That's almost your closing thoughts. I like that. You can't get
I
better
just
than
come
that
up,
right
I just
now.
come up with these
Yeah,
things
yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. I
Make
look
sure
at it.
and put them little clips of that. All right. Anyway.
You missed my bong, so, but that's okay. We
Right,
get it,
right,
you know.
right. I get it. Right? So, virgins to each other, yes, you may have experience having sex, so you know what the anatomy is like. But even in that, is to really learn that person. Now, sometimes Robert just tell me, I think about things in a utopian manner, right? But part of the point of this is coming up with solutions. We want to be better. We want to be better as men, right? And yes, we have women on the show sometimes, but we as men, we want to be better when we go in our relationships. We even to ourselves, talking to our children, talking to other young men. We want to be better at it. So if we look at this in a better manner, so technique, we could watch as much porn as we want. We may never meet that woman that you see on porn. And then remember, it's an act. Porn is an act. No matter how much reality porn it might have or things like that, or sex tapes. Even sex tapes now, they know you're being taped. People know they're being taped, so most
put on
likely
extra.
It's big
they're putting on
big
an act.
Extra, yeah.
Big one.
Exactly.
Wobble.
So technique really, I think, is an honesty thing.
Yeah.
One, you being honest with your partner being honest with you. And then if you're in tune with your partner, because I remember, I'll tell you this, I remember we talking about size, right? But I remember in a relationship, once size, depending on how the person felt in that moment, whether she would want all or she would want some, right? And I remember thinking, in my linear thinking before, in my mind, it's all. You want all. If you're not
All
going
or nothing.
all the way up and she's not feeling it, something wrong. But she
Body
was saying
position.
sometimes she don't want that, right? And I thought she's lying now, right? But only after talking to other people, the technique different. Some days you want it fast, some days you want it slow. Some days you want a quick 2 minutes. She said, and I think, let me get a quickie. And I think, nah, my brain has always had to be long. It had to be thing because that's what I learned. But the technique for that day, different. The technique for the morning might be different for the technique from the
And the
evening.
roughing up, to answer
Right?
Jamie's question, the roughing up aspect. of
Roughing
it.
up quick
That's
might
not
be for the
always.
morning, it might be in the evening. So this is really, human, that's why I love having these conversations. Human dynamics and human behavior is a lovely thing. But for it to work, we had to be honest first with ourselves.
Exactly.
Know what you want, know what you like, and then
Exactly.
connect with your partner. So we as men,
Say
right?
that again to Jamie. You want to be honest. Women, you want to be honest with the men. Especially if you're saying you have feelings for them.
With
Because if
themselves first.
with themselves first.
And then you can
and then
be honest with
communicate.
somebody
Because
else.
if you say you love them, then the best way to express that, and that'll be part of my closing, to have that quick discussion. But I want it's time for us to wrap this particular conversation. A lot has come out of it. So you want to finish your thought?
Yeah, people I employ, right? And I'm saying I'm not even perfect at it because there are certain paradigms I'm still trying to get over. But the only way to get over it is being honest, right? Honest with yourself, especially we're talking about sex. Sex, I think, is an important part of relationships, is an important part of human connection, and then is an important part of us procreating. So be honest about first what you like, be honest with your partner about what you like, and then also be perceptive. Because sometimes, people may not be as expressive as you, but if you're perceptive, you could see, hey, he like this, she like this, so you could maybe do a little more of that and ask. So the point is, one, honesty, and also two, being caring and empathetic to your partner to understand what they want or what they may like. Jimmy.
I would say women know how to hit a man where it hurts in terms of getting them to be on your level when you're angry and how to say emasculating men. That has somewhat become a reoccurring theme in terms of relationships. I would say for Trinidad, right? Because I can't speak about any country. And we as a whole, citizens, male, female, we had to do better. So more conversations like this, interact with us when we have our shows every Friday, interact in the chats, share, so we could get more resolve through discussion and just being open and raw about situations on our own, holistically?
I would say, and I'll keep it short, the amount of sexual partners that the person that you're with had is none of your business, and you don't need to ask. And that's about it.
I want to close to say, first off, Niall, I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you kept it, you kept it PG.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that being said, on a serious note, is that this conversation needed to be had. And and conversations like this, as Johanse pointed out, need to continue to happen. It's the basis, it's the root cause, it's the sometimes the outcome of issues such as low self-esteem, insecurity, pent-up anger. All of these things come and they manifest in areas such as this. And as you've heard by this discussion today and this conversation, so much has come out. The fact that in certain cases where we feel that sometimes being honest is actually holding back. And part of that love is actually holding back not to allow that person to feel a particular way. But we really need to get to the root cause of what that is and what comes out of that. So, Niall, you pointed it out. Does the number really matter at that point? Let's face it, everyone. You mightn't like it, but the truth is, they cannot change the past. You cannot change the past. So if you intend in your courting period to get that information, decide at that point that's your red flag, get out.
Correct.
If you continue to move forward, know that the person cannot change their past. And to continue going down a road of what can almost be seen as a form of domestic violence, that's mental abuse, by constantly having attack on that person for that number of things that they can't change. Now, if they're going back in the past and they're taking an attack back, or they're bringing it about, as you say, hitting people where it hurts, that's an entirely different story. But if that's not the case, then the only number that really matters is the fact that you can count on them. And that's what's really important.
I like that.
Gems, boy, gems.
It was deep, right? It was deep. So, in closing, I love the fact that we've come to the main nugget for me was that we are trying to make our mark. And you really have to check yourself on that. Check yourself on where is that coming from? Is that making your mark in society? Or are you making your mark out of insecurity and things that really don't matter? Because what you think the woman thinks is a totally different thought most of the time. So this has been Manhood, Johanse, Jamie, Niall. Always a pleasure. This conversation today, sexual prowess, sexual myths. They are myths.
Manhood, brought to you by Jameson, natural sources since 1922 and Racetrack.